Sup nerds, this is Garchu Collects or Dan, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a video discussing all of the card shows I've been to in New England and beyond, and reviewing them, as well as discussing my plans for card shows I will be attending in 2025 and beyond. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, for most of these, I have prepared a sticky note just going over the name of the show, the location, when the next show is. A lot of these are going to be focused in the New England area because that's where I live, and those are the majority of the local shows that I do attend. So this video will mainly be focused for probably people in New England. I will mention, though, before you tune off, that I will be discussing in the video Collecticon, my pickups from Collecticon, my review of the 2 Collecticons I've attended in 2024, as well as my plans for the Collecticons I will be attending in 2025, so please stick around for that. Anyway, let's get right into it. So the first show I wanted to shout out is A Lot of Cards in Nashua, New Hampshire. Now, this is a Thursday night show, which honestly kind of makes it a show I'm not really going to be attending too frequently. I went to one show in December, which was okay. I was able to source a few cards to grade, as well as a few cards cheap enough to be able to stock my table with when I'm vending future shows. However, I don't think I will be going back, as the traffic to Nashville from where I live is terrible on the weekdays. And yeah, it's just a Thursday night show, so it's not really something I want to be doing. I must prefer the Saturday and Sunday morning shows. That's definitely more up my alley. So yeah, I would not recommend going to this show unless you live in Nashua. It is a TCG and sports mixer show, so it'll be both sports and TCG if that's something you're into, but the selection for Pokemon really wasn't that great. Like I said, I picked up a couple cards to grade and then a couple raw cards to ideally flip, but I really was not that impressed with what I saw at that show, and I probably won't be going back. All right, the next show I want to quickly discuss is the Collector Expo. I've never been to this show. Just wanted to shout it out because I will be vending the February 1st show in Medford, Massachusetts. It's at a brewery in Medford. I'm blanking on the name, but anyway, if you live in the Boston area, definitely come check out this show. It is a new show, but I have high expectations. I think a lot of well-known vendors in the New England community are going to be vending here, and I think there should be a great selection of Pokemon here, so definitely recommend checking this out if you live in Massachusetts or New Hampshire. All right, let's get right into it. So the twist I did want to put on this is that from each of these shows, I'd want to have a card or a few cards that I picked up at the show. My favorite card I've picked up. Some of these shows I've attended a dozen times, especially the few more shows close to me right at the end. But I just want to kind of show a card to commemorate each show. Show card. Okay. Anyway, moving on. South Coast Collectibles, Weymouth, Massachusetts. I actually vended this show this past weekend. At the end of this video, I will do a quick breakdown of my gain loss from that show, go over what I sold, how much I sold it for, what my cost was in that item, as well as my profit loss. So stay tuned to the end if you're interested. I will be going over that gain loss from this show. And this show is in Weymouth, Massachusetts. It's at a brewery. I will say for this show, the brewery was pretty nice. It was small, but I think there were about 50 tables in this one, beer hall. The problem was, though, there's no service. So it's very hard to do any sort of trades or any comping of new items because there's no service. Also, accepting digital payments like Venmo or Zelle, I couldn't do that because we were inside with no service. I actually walked out a couple times to accept Venmo with the customer, which was pretty funny. But anyway, I am going to be vending this show again in April 12th in Weymouth, Massachusetts. Definitely check it out if you live in the area. But I wouldn't say it's worth driving more than a half hour for. I thought the selection when I walked around was a little lackluster. It was kind of your standard run-of-the-mill modern raw cards and modern slabs. I didn't really see any vintage at all, which for me as a vintage collector is a little disappointing. Excuse me. We're not going to edit that out. As you know, we don't edit. But anyway, yeah, not seeing vintage there was disappointing, and I don't think it'd be the best show to source cards to grade from, as I think a majority of the vendors who vend that show do grade their own cards. So all in all, if you're a seasoned collector looking for vintage cards or cards to grade for yourself, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this show. However, hopefully I will have a solid inventory in April consisting of modern and vintage slabs. So if you're in the area, I think it's worth driving, like I said, 20-30 minutes max, grab a beer, walk around a little bit, check out the tables, and leave. I believe it's also free entry too, so that's important to note there. And then the card I picked up from the show, very small card, this Groudon Reverse Holo from EX Emerald. I paid $70 for this. Right at the end of the show, I just saw this card and just wanted to pick something up. I really like these EX Era Reverse Holos, and yeah, this was a nice little pickup there. Happy to own this now. Moving on. So this show is actually the show that's coming up the soonest, and that is this Saturday, January 11th. in Wakefield, Massachusetts, PokeCon MA. It's at the high school in Wakefield. And I actually really like this show. I think this is a good up-and-coming show. I've been 2 times now. The first time I went, I thought the selection was better. There were a ton of tables, surprisingly, like by a ton, I mean 3 or 4, which is a lot for all these local shows, of just vintage cards. They had really good PSA 9, PSA 10 vintage selections. I don't know if someone was trying to liquidate their collection or whatnot, but yeah, I was really happy to see that at the first show. And then the second show, I didn't see as many vintage cards, but there were a lot of smaller vendors there, which is good to see people getting into the vending space. But that also means that there's more opportunity, I think, to buy their cards to grade or buy their cards to flip, because they're more willing to make deals as they are kind of just new vendors starting out. So I thought that was great. Overall, I think the show's pretty good. I think it's a good place to come, source some raw, maybe buy a slab or two, and yeah, just interact with the community. I think PokeCon is a really good show. I'd say it's probably worth driving up to maybe 45 minutes to an hour if you got nothing to do on a Saturday. I did think you could spend an hour or two at the show. There are probably only about 40 to 50 tables. It is in a high school cafeteria, but I think the layout's pretty well done. And I would recommend this show to a friend. Yeah, I'm going to be there this weekend. So if you're in the area, you happen to see this, come say hi. I'll probably be there right at 10 a.m. trying to source some raw and maybe pick up a vintage slab or two. But yeah, this show is where I got one of my favorite cards I own. This Dark Charizard with a nice swirl right in the middle there. I paid $850 for this card. And yeah, I'm really happy to own it. This is my PC Dark Charizard for life. This card will probably die with me. I will have it upon my death, and my children and grandchildren will sell this and hopefully make a bunch of money. This will be one of those cards because I just love the swirl placement. I love how, I've said this before, we left out the Charizard's looking down at the swirl almost. Yeah, just super nice card, and I do recommend PokeCon MA to anyone who lives in New England. Anyway, moving on. So this show is probably my favorite. It's the first show I ever went to, and it's the show I've been to the most because it's only 10-15 minutes from where I live. The best flipping card show in Woburn, Massachusetts. I highly recommend this show, especially their TCG only show. Now they have mixers with half sports, half TCG every month on Saturday. The next one of those is January 25th. And then they do, I believe it's 4 times a year now, they do a TCG only show, which is basically just 100% Pokemon. At least it was last time when I was vending. And that next show is March 22nd at the same location. Now, I would say for the mixer show, maybe if you live like up to a half hour away, it might be worth your time to drive and check out the Pokemon selection. But in terms of driving more than that, I don't think the mixer show is really worth it. It is actually majority sports at that show. There's probably about maybe a dozen Pokemon tables. But yeah, I don't really think it's worth your time as a Pokemon fan to drive more than a half hour to this show. It is a nice little show, but just because there's not that many Pokemon tables, it's probably not worth it. However, the TCG show, I'd say if you live anywhere in New England and you really like Pokemon, this is a show worth driving to, even if you have to drive up to like maybe even 3 hours. Like you could go to this TCG show, you could spend 3 or 4 hours there, really, if you wanted to, like check out every table, like make a few, like you could spend a lot of time. I think there were about 100 tables last time, and like I said, all of them were Pokemon, and the selection was great. I was vending, so I only got to walk around at the end, but I was pretty impressed with what I saw. I saw a lot of nice vintage slabs that I picked up. Well, I got the Dark Gyarados, as I think I showed off in a prior video, but I also saw a lot of modern, raw and graded, and then a lot of vintage slabs as well. So the selection is really all over the place in a good way, as well as a good a selection of sealed. So I do highly recommend these TCG shows. I am a little biased because I am going to be vending. I was able to get into the vending circuit for that show, which is awesome. Really happy about that. So the next show, like I said, is March 22nd, and I hope to see all you guys there. Now, I just want to quickly show off my 2 favorite cards I picked up from the flipping shows in the past. Best flipping shows, I should say. And it is this set, the Venusaur and Blastoise. Now, a little caveat here. I picked up Blastoise and Venusaur as a pair from this show. But this is not the Venusaur I picked up with the Blastoise. As I mentioned in my prior video, I did trade some 151 bundles for this Venusaur with a swirl. And then I have my other Venusaur that I did trade this one for, I guess, in my trade stack, or I guess inventory, I should call it now that I'm vending. But yeah, really happy to own these cards. They both have swirls. Let me just get the Blastoise highlighted. Yeah, right there, bottom left. And then the Venusaur right by his head. Can't miss that one. And yeah, really happy to have this duo. And then a little spoiler for what's coming up soon is there'll be the third of that now trio going to be making an appearance. So let's move on. This is the last New England show I'm going to be talking about. So you non-New Englanders, just stay tuned a little bit longer. I have more discussion on national shows to come. But anyway, the EC3 Con at Mohegan Sun, Connecticut is a great show. It was the first non-local show I went to. It's about an hour and a half from where I live. And I would say if you're really into Pokemon, it's probably worth driving up to 3 hours for this show. It's a mixer show again, so it's about maybe 60% Pokemon now, 40% sports. It used to be like 30% Pokemon when I first started going in, I believe, early 2022. But over the years, I think Pokemon has slowly kind of taken over that show. And it's a really great show. I've had a really good luck sourcing raw there. I've had really good luck picking up some nice vintage slabs from there. I've had really good luck buying sealed there. Yeah, you can't really go wrong with this show. The selection's really good. Maybe it's because people are at a casino and it's a 2-day show, but people are willing to make deals. I've had a lot of luck at this show, and I'll continue to go to this show. Even though it is an hour and a half away from where I live, it is worth it. Especially coming up, I will mention that if you're going to these shows, like, and you're traveling a lot, like, you got to make like an event out of it. It can't just be go to the show. So with Mohegan, it's nice. Usually go with my friend Miles, friend of the channel, who I mention a lot. He and I take a drive down. We just chat, hang out. We're driving in the car, go to the show for a couple hours. We'll grab lunch, get a couple beers. We've done a little bit of gambling afterwards because this is at Mohegan Sun, a casino and resort. And then we'll grab Krispy Kreme, the donuts there, and yeah, make a little day out of it. So it's awesome. I really do enjoy that. Hopefully, eventually I can vend that show. It is a 2-day show, so it is pretty expensive for tables, and I really want to have a solid inventory before I do that. But I think I'm in a position where maybe in the next year or so that can be a reality, which is exciting. But yeah, let's show off the 2 cards I got from EC3 Con. This is the first one I want to show off here. Erica's Venusaur. Nice swirl. This was my first Gym Challenge, Gym Hero card I picked up, which kind of started my spark to want to collect all of the cards. I think this is the best vintage Venusaur art, period. I just really like the way Venusaur looks here. And I really like the swirl positioning on this card, like right next to the flower there. And yeah, I really do enjoy this card. I actually traded the second Lugia V I pulled from a random build and battle. The first one I pulled from my first booster box, which I have graded 10 in my collection, but I traded that, and I think $150 for this card. So yeah, really wasn't that expensive for me. I think this card's undervalued. I think it's only like $350 still, but I think this card definitely has some room to run on it eventually. So I'm really happy to own this card. And then lastly, here's the remaining member of the trio I had mentioned, the Charizard EX. Really nice card. I love this card so much. Yeah, the shine on these original EXs is just crazy, and I really think the Charizard's such a nice art. I always like pointing out, it's a little my bugaboo with this card is there's a swirl right there. It's just covered by his wing, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's a little disappointing as a swirl collector. I guess this technically still is a swirl, but like if that was like a centimeter up, this be like my favorite card I own, to be honest. But it's still one of my favorites. I'm so lucky to own it. And yeah, let's move on. All right, quickly want to talk about the front row card shows. They are West Coast shows. I've only been to one. I went to the July 2024 show in Las Vegas when I was in Las Vegas with my dad and brother to see the Grateful Dead, and the show just happened to be that weekend. I think these shows are great. I think these shows are worth traveling up to 3 hours for, to be honest. Maybe even more if you want to like make a weekend out of it. Like say you live 3-4 hours from Vegas and you go for the 2-day show and then you gamble at night and maybe go see a concert or something, whatever. But yeah, I think this selection was crazy. This show has been second to only Collecticon from what I've seen. In fact, at the show, I think this show, one table specifically, I think the guy was just trying to sell his collection. He had a ton of base set first edition PSA 9s, which I'm trying to collect, and I've yet to find really any suitable copies at a lot of these Collecticons I've been to, or the two I've been to, I should say. But this guy, I wasn't in a position to buy because this was literally like 2 weeks before Collecticon in New Jersey that I was going to, so I didn't bring that much cash. I was just planning on just browsing, just maybe picking up 1 or 2 slabs. But anyway, this guy had an insane selection, and he wasn't alone. I saw several tables that had very good vintage card selections, a lot of raw modern. I'm sure you could do pretty well sourcing modern there. I think it was like 150, 200 tables. Like it was a huge show. It was in one of the casinos, like big ballrooms, and I highly recommend the Front Row Card Show to anyone who lives on the West Coast. I'm jealous that we don't have that over here on the East Coast, but I just wanted to quickly shout out the show as well. And then my pickup I wanted to highlight was the Feraligatr from Expedition, PSA 9. Picked this up from Bulbasaur. It actually, it was it was on the thumbnail, the picture of me and him of the video I did of this show. I might actually slap that picture again as one of the pictures on this thumbnail. We'll see. But anyway, it was great meeting Bulbasaur. I'm a big fan of his channel. I'm glad to pick up a card from him, even though he's kind of a pain to negotiate with. I actually wouldn't recommend buying from him unless he has like a very specific card you want, just because I think there's other vendors that you can negotiate a little bit easier with. But he seems like a really nice guy, and obviously he's run his business very well, so I can't hate on that, but just gonna call that out how I see it. But anyway, glad to own this card. I think this is a nice little souvenir from the trip. Wish I had a swirl. Maybe one day I'll upgrade this copy to get one with a swirl, but I'm happy to have the one I have now. All right, and the last stack we've all been waiting for is the Collecticon stack. Let me position that there. Now, for Collecticon, I think that if you want to travel to Collecticon, you should. But I think you got to make like a trip out of it. Like obviously if you're driving several hours or flying, you're going to need to stay at a hotel for at least a couple nights. That's just how it is. But try to go to Collecticons in maybe cities you haven't visited before. Maybe they have something else you want to do in that city. So you're kind of mitigating the cost of the trip, because you're not only attending a really nice card show, but you're also maybe going to a monument you want to see, or you're going to a sporting event that you want to see, or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my philosophy on it. Now, the 2 Collecticons I went to in 2024 were New Jersey and Chicago. New Jersey is about a 6-hour drive from where I live. It actually probably took more like 7.5, 8 hours with traffic. It was brutal. I will do it again, maybe in November. Unfortunately, the July show this year, I have one of my good friends from college's wedding, so I won't be able to attend that one. But I would have otherwise. And I do recommend New Jersey to people who can drive to it, albeit maybe avoid the George Washington Bridge in New York City. That'd be my little take there. And then Chicago, like I mentioned, I did actually make a trip out of it with my girlfriend. We flew out over Columbus Day weekend, so I went to the show Saturday, Sunday. She went to visit some family in Chicago, and then kind of did some more of her own touristy stuff on Sunday. And then we had Monday off for Columbus Day, and then Tuesday we took the day off from work. So you're able to have 2 days afterwards to do touristy things in Chicago, like go to the aquarium, go to some museums, do some tours and whatnot. So yeah, that was awesome. And also with both of these, New Jersey and Chicago, New Jersey I went with my buddy Miles, Chicago went with my girlfriend, split the cost of the hotel on both of these with them. So, I mean, that's kind of another way to do it, I think. Like maybe go with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, best friend, family members, like make a trip out of it. Like say, hey, do you want to go to, I'm doing this with my brother actually in Fort Lauderdale. Hey, do you want to go to Fort Lauderdale? And he said yes. So we're going to go in the end of March. He's going to pay for half the hotel. I don't have to pay for half the hotel. I got to pay for my flight and whatnot. But yeah, we also have, our father has a house down there. So we're going to be visiting him, hanging out with him, and then driving a couple hours from his place to the show. And then I guess that leads me into my next, my plans for 2025. So like I said, Fort Lauderdale for sure. Cleveland, I might actually go to. It is a 10-hour drive-ish from where I live. But my mom lives in Ithaca, New York, which is like perfectly, can be on the way and is like a really good halfway point. So I might drive to there, spend a day or two with her, go to Cleveland for the weekend. Never been to Cleveland before. So go to Cleveland, maybe stay an extra day there, kind of check out the area, drive back, stay at hers, and yeah. It'll be kind of expensive to get a hotel. It's probably going to be by myself. Maybe I can convince someone to come with me, but either way, I think it'll be a fun experience. And then Kansas City. I am planning on going to Kansas City at the end of August. One of my best friends from high school moved out to Missouri, so he lives about an hour and a half from there. So like I said, making a trip out of it. Never been to Kansas City. Gonna fly out, get a hotel. Hopefully I can convince our other buddy, Miles, is also really good friends with this guy. Hopefully I can convince him to come with, and we'll split the cost of the hotel, do a weekend in Kansas City, and then maybe stay an extra day or two, check out some things and whatnot, and visit our friend we haven't seen in a long time. And then lastly, possibly New Jersey. My only hesitation is that snow, like end of November. I don't want to buy and book the hotel and buy the VIP pass only to get snowed out and not be able to drive down there. But yeah, if I'm thinking about that, if not, like I definitely want to go to New Jersey again. Like that was fun. I'm sad I'm missing the one in the summer, but maybe I can make the one in the winter. And yeah, let's quickly go over my favorite pickups from the 2 collect cons I've been to. This first one here is just very unique. It's a original CGC signed card from Chumlee. I guess this was pulled in a box break Chumlee did. As you can see, let me take the sticky note off. It says they got the Chumlee collection pedigree. It was pulled by Chumlee himself on, I believe, Whatnot, when they did a EX Deoxys box break. I paid $140 for this card, which I felt great about. At first I was like unsure why I bought this, but because I collect PSA 9s and this is an old CGC label randomly signed by Chumlee, but I think it's a cool little piece of Pokemon history, to be honest. I think it's cool that I couldn't find the video, but I think there's a video somewhere of him pulling this card on Whatnot, which is cool that this card kind of has like the whole history of it tracked, and then he also signed the top of the card. Not that Chumlee's signature is worth much, but I think it's just a very unique collection piece, and I'm glad to own this. All right, moving on. Then I have this Blaine's Moltres I just wanted to shout out that I picked up at Chicago Collecticon. And I've shown this off before, but it has 2 swirls on it. I've never seen this before. Let me know if you own any cards with 2 swirls. I'm very curious, or if you've seen any cards like this, because obviously this is a half swirl, but still, like, I don't normally think the swirl's like this close on the sheet. Like, I think this is some sort of error, possibly. I don't really know, but anyway, yeah, I'm just super happy to own this card. This is a really solid pickup from Chicago Collecticon. And then these are kind of a mini set, I guess, if you will. Save the best for last there, but Blastoise, Piplup, and then Raichu and Alolan Raichu. I actually originally picked this up at New Jersey Collecticon in July, but my copy had like a weird, I think I've shown it off before on camera, a weird like nick in the top right corner. So I paid, I think it was like literally like $10. Like this vendor was super chill about it, but I gave a vendor like $10 to swap copies at Chicago Collecticon. So these are both technically from Chicago Collecticon, and then I picked up this one. I believe I paid $320 for this one, and I think $275 for this, $250. I don't even remember. But yeah, I'm really happy to own this set. I guess it's not even a set, it's only 2 of like the dozen tag teams, but these will probably be the only tag teams I collect. I'm not a huge tag team guy. Like, I think it's a really cool gimmick, but I guess I feel a lot of the arts, I should say, like, or the alt arts, yeah, whatever, they're before my time. Like, I got in 2021 with Battle Styles, was my first set, and I appreciate the Sun and Moon cards, but I'm a Sword and Shield guy. Like, that's my modern. Sword and Shield and beyond, I guess, forward is my modern. This is just kind of like it's modern still, but it's not really, I don't have the same attachment to it as all the cards I do that came out like when I was like actively into the hobby and like opening the sets as they came out. So I really like these cards. I'm glad I own them. Don't plan on getting rid of them anytime soon. But like I said, these will probably be the only 2 tag teams I own in my collection for the long term anyway. Outside of, like, I do have some small promos. Like, I like the tin promos. I have the Pikachu Zekrom, and I have the base art of the Charizard Reshiram. But besides that, yeah, I don't necessarily plan on buying any more of the expensive tag team alt arts. Anyway, last card I wanted to show off. This is my favorite card I own. I'm sure you guys can figure out what it is if you watch this channel. It is the first edition PSA 9 Shining Gyarados. I want to pick up that swirl there. As you guys know, I'm a sucker for a swirl, and there it is. A little hard to see on camera, but right where my thumb is there, it's like coming out of the art, like one of the splashes of water, like a wave. It's absolutely gorgeous in person. Hard to see on camera, but trust me when I say this card is easily the nicest card I own. It's not even a question. I'm so blessed to own this card, and I will never sell this. I can't imagine finding another copy with a swirl better than this. This is really hard to beat. Just the way the swirl is kind of facing even is like you can see it's like curls out that way, like the splash of water. So yeah, just so lucky to own this card, and really happy I was able to pick it up at Chicago Collecticon. I think I paid $2,200. It's like $1,300 cash, and then it was like $900 trade, maybe $950 trade. But yeah, super happy about that. And yeah, this is another one of my absolute grails, and very thankful to own this card. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the video there. Hope you enjoyed watching and appreciated this spin I took on discussing card shows locally and also nationally that I've been to. I'm now going to cut the video, and we're going to do a quick rundown of my sales from the South Coast Collectibles Show in Weymouth, Massachusetts. I vended this past weekend. And yeah, talk to you shortly. All right, nerds. Thanks for watching the video this far. Just wanted to quickly go over my profit loss in Excel from the show I vended this past weekend, the South Coast Collectibles Show in Weymouth, Massachusetts. Real quick highlights to note is that there weren't many sales. It was pretty slow show, to be honest. I only made, looks like 12 sales there, 13 sales, whatever it was. But they're high dollar amounts. I profited over $1,000, which was awesome, mainly due to the Mew EX and the Arceus Dalga Palkia tag team PSA 10s that I sourced raw, graded myself, and sold. Those were both pickups at the Chicago Collecticon. So that pretty much paid for the trip almost right there, if not fully. So it's pretty crazy how 2 cards blew up like that. Now, I guess I want to comment that I did sell the Mew, I guess, maybe $100, $150 now, I guess, below market technically. But I was happy to sell it, just get the cash, full cash. I guess it was over Venmo, but still, it was no selling fees, no worrying about any of that. Just got the sale done and got cashed out, which was nice. And yeah, I guess the only other comments I want to make on kind of how I'm doing my accounting for this little Pokemon business is trying to really rigorously track my cost basis and everything. I have a separate spreadsheet for my keeping track of my grading, like how much I cost to source the cards raw, what the grading fees were, if there are any upcharges, and then what the card costs in PSA 10, PSA 9 to kind of get an unrealized gain-loss picture. And then when I realize it, I update the spreadsheet. And then why you're seeing NA in a lot of places for some of these cards is because I don't know what the cost was. Some of these cards I had sourced like 4 years ago now, I guess, when I was just getting back into the hobby. So I didn't keep track of any of that. And then some of the cards I pulled from packs. Like I think that Raikou was pulled from a pack. So it's like I was opening packs. I know it's already a waste of money. There's no real way to effectively track the gain loss, in my opinion. So that's just going to be the NA there. Maybe you could argue that my profit of $1,085 is inflated because I technically lost money on a lot of these cards. But I think going forward, you'll see less and less NAs as I'm tracking now everything I buy, and I'm opening less and less packs because I'm just mainly buying sealed product to flip or invest in, and I'm not really ripping that many packs anymore. But anyway, guys, let me know if you have any questions on how I'm tracking my vendor sales, or let me know if you have any questions on vending at all, or if I missed any shows in the New England area. Please let me know. I'd love to go to more shows in the New England area and beyond. So let me know if I missed any shows in the comments below. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.